I know that kid's voice. It's a last-minute dub. All vocals. Bird's a vocal. Drums are vocals. Actually, it's all vocals. And I was very fortunate to work on this project. This is actually mostly done by a friend of mine, Bill Hare. He's probably the best a cappella producer there is in the world, and he taught me how to do some of this, and I was fortunate enough to work on this. This took first place for best professional a cappella CD at the 2004 awards, and they got best single as well. So cool to listen to it. It's amazing what this guy can do, and he taught me a few of the tricks.
That's very cool. Now, you were saying that's all vocal. There's
all vocal.
No instruments.
There is absolutely no instrument in that.
There's no sound effects.
Yeah.
It's all using their voices.
I must admit, we do a few tricks in the studio. Most of it's compression and EQ. Sometimes a little phasing, flanging. Sometimes moving, doing a little sequencing with the drums and stuff like that. It's all within the realms of legality. There's actually two schools of a cappella right now. It's become quite a big thing, and since this is a show on vocal miking, it's a good thing to talk about. I think there's a dichotomy. There's one side, let's get progressive and let's make sticks as in too much time on my hands actually sound like that, and so we'd sequence the vocals going do 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 do, and then tune them up with auto tune or whatever you use, and then sequence it across the board so it sounds like a keyboard pad. So that's one side of it. The other side you'll hear will be a piece we'll play at the end, which also took an award. It's more of the Muffy and Kitty and Buck world of a cappella, where it's all doo-wah, doo-wah,
more traditional,
doobie-doobie, la-dee-da-dee-doo-doo.
Okay.
And I have nothing against it. I'm just being smarmy. So.
Okay. Well, I think now would be a good time after we've insulted a few people.
Yes,
to,
let's
say
please.
Hi,
Thank
and
you.
welcome to Making Music. I'm Jack Van Breen from Guitar Showcase, and with me we're honored to have Scott Goldberg, an award-winning producer, writer, an artist himself. And we're going to be talking about microphone techniques. This time we're talking about vocal techniques.
Yes.
Helping us with the mixing and commentary, Mark
Zalatimo.
I still can't get that, but working with you.
They only brought me so I could do that.
But he's the manager of the Pro Audio department and also an expert in his own right on all these things that we're today.
And if I could just add something here, this second CD that you're going to hear at the end of the show, fortunately for me, won 4 awards. All of the gear that I used came from that place.
Oh.
I was very fortunate.
Yeah, and one that you'd like to mention, you got it from us. But
yeah, and it's not that I'm trying to plug it. It just happened to be that was the case.
Yes.
And it just shows you, you can use, if you know what you're doing and you take the right steps, you can make a stellar recording nowadays with any assortment of mics.
And we do have an assortment here. Now, we're going to demonstrate all these mics in just a moment,
yes.
But we're going to start with the industry standard and sometimes favorite Shure SM57, a technology that's actually this year 60 years old.
Yeah, and if we can just preface this a little bit, you have basically 3 types of mics, 4 maybe. You have dynamic mics, which are self-powered like the SM57. They're normally used for performance. They're not always the best recording mic for something like a vocal or something that you want to really get a good timbre out of. You have condenser mics, like most of these are, and you have ribbon mics, and what am I forgetting? And tube mics, which is another kind of condenser. It's a power supply, and they all have a different sound, a different tone. Some people prefer one to the other. But most of these are condensers, except for the SM57, which is the one that you're going to start with here.
Right. But you use the 57
I used it quite a bit.
For the percussion tracks on that
Yes.
first thing. You discover or come up with that technique.
Yeah. First of all, I want to clear the air. Those percussion tracks were done by a friend of mine. I worked on that CD. The second one you'll hear much more of what was my work on it, so I don't want to take claim for something that mine.
But I mean,
did work on this.
Sounds wonderful. I know the drummers that would kill
if
for
he
that
cues
thing.
up the second one, I don't know if that's if you can do
we'll
that.
show that
but
later.
Yeah, but if you hand me that mic, I'll give you a couple instances of what we do.
I think
and
I can
I'll
do that.
try not to. I'll try not to your microphone.
Oh.
You can hear the snare in there. Now, this guy Wes Carroll that you're listening to on vocal percussion is probably one of the best there is. Wes is. We always tease him. He's a graduate at MIT, and he calls me for Pro Tools help. And I tell him, "What's the matter with you, Wes? You're an MIT genius, but you can't figure out." But listen to what he's doing with that. That's all live, by the way. Normally, I split it out. I'll take the snare, the kick, and the hi-hat. The hi-hat might just be something of that nature. The kick could be a blend, or it could be a single thing. The kick's...
Wow.
Or it could be this with this. And then I blend the two of them. The snare, excuse me, depending on... Sorry. You gotta warm up for this one. And once he gets to the next track, you'll hear it's going to sound quite a bit different than that because of the processing I did on it.
So there's some extra EQ and compression.
It depends on the guy. Some of these guys are so good. There's actually one guy I know who does bass and vocal percussion at the same time. Don't ask me how he does it.
Yeah.
He's got an octave box, and live, when I see him, he's just amazing.
Interesting.
It's a 5-person group, and they sound like about 10 people, and he's doing 2 parts. And he uses a similar mic. It's usually a dynamic mic. And the reason why I use a dynamic mic like an SM57 is because they're hard as rocks. You can drop them, you can kick them, you can drive over them. They'll still work. And
it's a hammer?
Yeah. I've used it as a hammer.
Everybody has.
Yeah.
It's also, a small billy club if you're getting the wrong side
Absolutely,
of town.
yeah. And, it's a good vocal mic if you're going to be up on stage. The only thing, it can even be a good instrument mic. The thing you have to watch out for when you come to a dynamic mic such as one of these is proximity effect. What proximity effect means is the closer you get it to something, exponentially the low end will get larger and larger and larger.
Well, let me just
so if we had a guitar, just for example, that had no low end, some crappy plywood guitar, and you wanted to make it sound a little bigger in the low end, you might take that and put it a little bit closer, and it will artificially make the low end.
For speaking voice back here,
Yes.
I have a fairly flat, tinny voice.
Right.
It's what I was blessed with. But if I bring it up to here, I can get that real big sound.
You're now James Earl Jones.
So it's pretty amazing, and that's a technique you can use to compensate for some different discrepancies you might have in the instruments you have.